Right, welcome to the weekly crypto market review. Today, I'm going to cover Bitcoin and the uh, crypto dominances, and I'm also going to cover a few altcoins, mainly the BTC pairs for these coins, just to see where we are. None of this is financial advice, guys, just ideas and dubious speculation. That's all it is. So let's get into it and let's fire away. So looking at Bitcoin on the monthly chart, this is the Bitcoin index, which captures a lot of information. Now you can see here that, we've literally been in a bear since the bear market since here, uh, since exit sports was flagged, should have been out of the market long time ago, and we've been cascading down since. If you look at it on this monthly chart, there's a lot of rhythm with Bitcoin. Um, so if you look at this here, pull back to the middle of the KC channel, and you go up to take liquidity of the big candle, big selling candle. Look at this here. You come back almost to the KC channel. You go up and take liquidity of this big selling candle and at the top, and then you cascade down. So we've cascaded down to the 50 EMA. Now, if you look at here, we came to the 50 EMA and we had a big capitulation event. Went side, then we had a small bounce, then went sideways for a few months. I mean, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months in a row. I think the same thing probably repeats itself here as well. Um, we'll definitely hit this 50 SMA, and this is the SMA here. So we'll go into the SMA and probably invalid, kind of violate it a little bit, like we did here. And then we'll get a small bounce back up to the 50 EMA on the monthly chart. And then grind a little bit whilst all these moving averages reset themselves before we start going up. So that's the picture. And I think, between the 35K and 45K zone, the Bollinger is sitting currently at 44K. It will keep contracting and moving together. So um excuse me. So it keep coming up. So it's at 45K. The KC channel is sitting at 31K. So, somewhere in between these two moving averages for these channels is where price will likely hit, likely, or come very close to. Like we did here, we came very close to the Bollinger before going sideways. And then when you get a green, you start looking for your entries to go long. So the long is not yet. There's no need to try to front run anything. Just wait and you get your signals, and then you can actually go buy any strength. So that's the view on Bitcoin. I think this weekend we probably dump, and into Monday we probably dump is what I would say. Um, you know, before we get any significant mini rally. I mean, we could bounce to maybe 72K, but that's not really a big move. If you bring it to the weekly chart and look at the weekly chart, if you bounce to 72K, if I make this bigger, let's make this bigger. If you bounce to 72K, um, on this on here, which will be like slightly above this candle, so like 72K, it doesn't really change much. I I think most likely we hit this 200 SMA before we go for that mini rally. But even if you get a small mini rally, it's not going to be significant because this selling candle here has to be exceeded. It has to be exceeded before you get some significant move to the upside. And if you look at the weekly chart carefully as well. Excuse me. And you look at this candle here, and you look at what came afterwards. So you had like one, two, three candles, one, two, three candles, and then the following week you had a bit of a pump, very, very small pump. Um, and then the journey continues to the downside. So we might have something like that where, um, into next week close, we have a small mini pump, get everybody excited, and then continue the journey to the downside would be what we would say. Um, and I would expect that we'll get a bear flag on this setup somewhere. With this mini pump, we'll create a bear flag, and then it will send us all the way to the downside. So that's what I'm seeing at the moment on Bitcoin. So nothing really significant. Nothing's changed for me in terms of the downside. We close, yes, close to a bottom, absolutely. Because if you look at the monthly chart, if we get to 44K from here, which is 60, it's not too far. So we are close to a bottom, but we are not at the bottom yet. So if you want a DCA, sure, you can DCA, but gently and slowly as you DCA. Um, I won't be buying any Bitcoin until actually it breaches below below the 50 on the monthly. If we go below the 50, it's a time for DCA for me, and I'll start DCA my way, small, small. So that's Bitcoin. Let's look at some of the crypto dominances. Let's look at Bitcoin dominance and see what Bitcoin dominance is doing. Um, so on this monthly chart, what we can see here is we've got a roadblock for Bitcoin dominance in terms of its upside. That roadblock has been cleared, so there's nothing here. But this is sideways movement to continue the journey to the downside, as opposed to continue journey to the upside, so that all the moving averages can reset themselves. So I think dominance will likely in the coming month likely continue the journey to the upside, to the downside. You may get a small bounce first before, so a small bounce up first before we continue to the downside. If I bring you to the weekly chart, it's a very similar story as well. You've got, these candles here forming, which is very similar to what is on Bitcoin as well. And we may get a small push on this to the other side. So we could get a small push back up to the 21 or maybe somewhere here or slightly above it before the journey to the downside resumes. So a bit more, maybe a little bit more of a push on Bitcoin dominance. But ultimately, I think it's getting to the point where it's coming all the way down to probably here around the 53, or it will come here first, which is the 56.6. And then depending on how structure forms here, most likely this is where it will find its support to then continue a really big move back up again. So that's Bitcoin dominance. Let's go and have a look at some of the crypto dominances. I want to look at others dominance, which is looking really, really interesting. So if you look at the monthly chart on the others dominance, um, you can see here we've got a big rejection candle here, and we've been going sideways since. Um, there is a if you take these wicks off and look at the MACD is looking very, very, very positive. It's ticking up, and we're not above zero yet, but it's looking really positive at the moment. And if you look at your RSI, your RSIs are pointing upwards after being in the oversold region on the fast RSI. And then you go your slow RSI is also doing the same. It didn't get to oversold region, but it's doing the same. And it's looking positive in terms of the RSI, the RSIs. So I think there's a potential for the others dominance to continue this move to the upside to test the 200, the 50, sorry, the 50 EMA. Excuse me, which is sitting here. at let's see, where is it sitting? At 10.55. So that is a potential. Um, yeah, so it could easily creep up to that level and maybe even up to here before you get the next leg to the downside. So you will get another leg to the downside, which will bring the standard RSI into the oversold region, and that hopefully will be the end of the drop. So on this monthly chart, currently looking good, but this candle will be exceeded same way as this was exceeded and this was exceeded. You're going to have this also being exceeded and this being exceeded to the downside. I think this one is what 6.49 and this is also 6.52. Okay, so this hasn't been exceeded yet. So any move up is temporary relief for the altcoins to kind of pull themselves up a little bit, and then after that you get your big move back to the downside to the oversold region. So that's the others dominance, which is looking good so far. And you look at your total two. So I want to look at total three actually. So total three is not looking too good. It's not looking good on total three. We've been in a downturn since this candle had to be exceeded. It's been exceeded. Um, Now you can see what happens normally with total two comes to the 50, right? Where with the 50 EMA, which is where we are now from this 2021 drop, come to the 50 EMA, and you kind of play around here for a little bit, yeah, and then you go and revisit the 50 SMA. So I think there's a potential for us to go a bit of sideways small pump, maybe back to here and then continue the journey to the downside because you see the RSIs have not reset yet. We're nowhere near the oversold region at the moment. So there is more downside on it potentially. Not a lot, but I think a little bit more um, downside. This candle here was the candle of interest, and I think we've not taken all of it yet. So I do expect all of this to be taken, and then we'll take a little bit of these candles here as well before we reset to go back to the upside. If you look at, we don't have enough data on the previous cycle, but these candles always get exceeded. These candles always get exceeded. So let's look at the weekly chart and see. So weekly chart, we do have a bear flag on it. So this thing is going to go down to somewhere around here, around the 606 billion, maybe slightly lower. And then you can get your move to the upside. This candle will be exceeded. You may get small relief, but this candle will be exceeded. With these bear flags on, you're likely to go down, more likely than up. Uh, if I show you this candle as well, go exceeded. All these candles here get exceeded. These sort of candles, they get exceeded to the downside. This gets exceeded to the downside. You may get small relief to the upside, but it gets exceeded to the downside. And then if you compare it as well here, you can see in 20, where is 2021? If I can, let's make this bigger. So we can see. So here you go in 2021, 22. We can see we had a bear flag on here, and then we went zipping down before coming up, right? So we'll have to zip down and come back. Very similar picture painting here with a bear flag here. You tend to go down before you get any move or any relief. So the drop is imminent, is coming. Might get small bounce, but you would get a big drop back to about 607 billion. So that's the total three as well. And I just want to go and have a look at a few altcoins and see what they are doing. So let's start with ETH BTC and see what ETH BTC is doing. So I want to look at it on a monthly chart to give me a better perspective. So you can see your MACD is red and it's getting shorter, which means all these candles here are likely. to be taken, and I think it probably comes lower. That's a lower low, I think, because yeah, it does a lower low, and then that will give you your divergence on the weekly chart for you to go up. So this is not ready yet. BTC is not ready. And if I bring it to ETH again, if I just get this bigger, you can see you've got a big trend line that's here, here, here. So it's being defended. Will it hold? I don't think so. I think this will come all the way down to about 1600. It might go breach it again and come to about, the 1600 or the 1400. Could even come all the way up to here, which is, 1002 before, any significant move happens on this USD chart. Um, if you bring it to the weekly chart, again, you've got a very similar story where you've got this candle here. We've got a bear flag as well on it, so we'll have to exceed it before we go anywhere. So it's looking more likely it, comes home to the, 1600, 1500, maybe slightly lower, 1400. So between 1400 and 1600 could be a very good place, double bottom type scenario. This candle here becomes the candle of interest. And if they work it to this point, 1600, I think it will be a good place to start, accumulating ETH for a potential bounce back up, to maybe the 2-4 mark at that point. So there's more bleeding to come. If we move to RVBTC, so RVBTC on the monthly chart gives you a better perspective. Again, we've got this candle which has to be exceeded. So there's a bit of pain coming on RV as well, and it provides a good opportunity for spot bag, accumulation. You're talking all these candles here are potential candles. So, somewhere around the 30650 would be a good area, and that would exceed this candle as well, which means, you are, kind of creating a divergence, and, you'll create a divergence here between here and here, hopefully, comes down a little bit and creates a divergence here. Or actually comes all the way down to a sold region and then resets itself and then we go. But your MACDs are not looking great. We have a bear cross as well on MACD. You got a bear cross as well. Um, so not good. And then if we could look at the weekly chart, so we had a fake pump, a bit of a fake pump on the weekly chart here. It's come to hit a point where is going to reset itself. We didn't get any cross on our flag here. So, and if you bring it to the daily chart, we can see on the daily chart, we had a good pump and then we just pumped and dumped literally. And this, you can see the MACD is not positive at all. The RSIs are conflicting. This energy could not even move the RSI to cross the signal line. It's going to come back down. So this will come back down and create a lower price than the base here on this RSI, as we've obviously explained on the monthly chart. So our USD pair will likely go down more as a result. And then I want to look at FET as well. So FET BTC on the monthly chart, let's look at it on the monthly chart, gives us a big perspective. Here we go. So you can see your MACD is getting shorter and shorter, which is positive, which is good. This candle is it's a reversal. These are reversal candles. So it's good to see them there, but you can still go lower first before. I think you probably will go lower and go below this candle here slightly before we get the move, the proper bounce to the upside. If we look at our fast RSI, it's not been able to cross yet. The slow is far away from a signal line, so it's got a bit of work to do. And the flag is not giving us anything apart from the bear flag we got here. And with a bear flag on this, you're going to go lower first. So there's a bit of a lower move on FET as well as a result. So currently we are, you've got how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 2, 3, 9. I think it probably will get to, it will add another zero to it. It will lose a zero, and you're probably going to get, 6 zeros, 86 or 87 or 85, something like that before you end up going up. So fetch has also got some falling to come on it. So, I mean, if you look at the USD quickly, so the USD pair, I think will probably get into the 0 point somewhere here where my buy alert is 10.78, somewhere there. It could come to these bases here, which is around the 0.65, 0.64, or 0.6. But it will be a wick. You will get a very quick wick that goes all the way back up again. So it's better to get your orders in place if you want to buy some of these. So that's Fetch. It's one of our coins we're tracking. And I'll cover quickly IMX as well. So IMX, you can see here as well. On the monthly, we have MACD improving. So it's telling us that it's improving, but we're nowhere near. Um, I think this also goes down one more time. It goes down one more time first before you get any significant move. If you bring it to the weekly chart, you can see here, got a big sell here, and I think this big sell will be exceeded with a wick. So you could wick to maybe 0.07, 0.08, somewhere there before you wick back up to the other side, will be what we say. Let's move on to fat coin. So what coin on the monthly chart? Let's go on the monthly chart. You can see here it's just been down, 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 and nothing's changed. I think Fatcoin comes all the way back down to probably the best case scenario would be 6.5. This candle will be exceeded to the downside. We've exceeded this candle to the downside already. So this will be exceeded to the downside, and if we bring it to the weekly, maybe to see where it might be. I mean, the Bollinger is sitting at what, 1176, and the KC channel is sitting at a minus, which I don't think will probably happen. Um, so for me, I think, this thing comes all the way to test this. This candle here will be a candle of interest. This candle here, maybe the tops here, 755. And if it gets really bad, then you come to the base, which is 30305, and then you have your real bounce to the upside. So MACD is not looking good. It's still not looking good. And your RSIs on the weekly chart haven't been able to, curl up at all, still pointing downwards. The fast RSI is not really being able to do anything. But you can see that if you wick down, then you're creating a divergence straight away on these, and then hopefully you can have your proper move to the upside, maybe back to, the point 6, point 7 zone. This candle will be a candle of interest. So, and this candle has not been exceeded as well. The low of this candle is 14. Did we exceed it? No, not with this. So we'll exceed this candle. It will exceed it, and then it becomes the target for the rise. So that's fat. It's a short on that. Let's look at ICP. So ICP BTC, what you can see here is as well. It was looking good. It did a move there, but this reversal gave us a bit of a pump to the upside. And we continue our journey. And I think, this thing is coming here. I mean, this candle will have to be exceeded, so it's not looking good, is it? Yeah, you'd have to exceed this candle here. So go lower and create a divergence on this. So there's a bit more. Look at the MACD. See, MACD's been ticking down, ticking down. There's no energy there. The RSIs are all kind of pointing downwards. Here we go. Come on. The RSIs, it was a fake move here, so it didn't cross. And they are all pointing downward. So this is not looking good for ICP. And therefore, any bounces on the USD pair is just a fake bounce until then. So if you look at let's look at the monthly on it, and you can see here this has to be exceeded. This candle has to be exceeded to the downside, and it's got a low of 1.99. And this also has to be exceeded to the downside, and it's got a low of 1.858. So best case scenario, let's move one of our candles here. Best case scenario is it goes slightly lower, maybe to here, to the Bollinger, with the Bollinger sitting around what, 160 something. Let's move this time. 162, 162. And it could go even lower. It could go maybe to 150, 140. It's possible with this flush before you get the energy to kind of continue the journey to the upside. So, and then let's have a quick look at the other two that we are interested in, injective. So injective here on the monthly chart. Injective is this is looking interesting, but the pump has already happened. So this one is giving us a little bit of a pump here. This candle has to be exceeded. We've got a bear flag on it, and it centers all the way down here. We need to exceed that. MACD is improving, which is good. We need to exceed that to create divergence because we don't have a divergence yet anywhere here. Fast RSI is not giving us a divergence, and the slow RSI is not giving us any divergence. So most likely path is we come back down a little bit more, exceed this candle here with a bear flag on, and then we can then continue going up. So if I bring it to the week was looking really good. So look, RSI all pointing up on the week, looking quite interesting on the week on this. And this sideways chop has given us a bounce, but this bounce could not even, it's being sold into quickly. And this bounce is a result of this pink candle volume we had here. So we had a pink candle, seeded slightly, and then we just went up. So long as the weekly is looking good, but I do expect still for us to go below this candle, to create that divergence, because currently you don't have one, right, on the weekly chart. So if we were to sell off and the RSI didn't go below here, then you have your divergence. So this one is giving us a good pump, and they are selling into it. As you can see, we have roadblocks on it and the fade as well. So yeah, this is being sold into. They'll sell all of this off and sell it back down. Let's look at the USD pair and see what the USD pair is telling us. So we had a big pump and another big pump, but if you look at it, we're selling into it again. So this is the daily chart, and we seem to be selling off back into it again, and this candle normally gets exceeded to the downside. So the weekly, we had a good pump on the week, quite a good pump. The MACD is looking positive. It's going to the upside. And your RSI, fast RSI is crossed. Slow RSI hasn't crossed. So that's where the question mark is, because, with this sort of energy, your slow should also cross together, but it didn't. So, and because it did not cross, this is more likely that this will return back down again, and then the two of them will kind of join together and continue the journey. I think this candle will be exceeded to the downside. You'll get your flash before we go, because we don't really have any meaningful divergence here for us to go up at all at the moment, except for maybe your MACD, which is giving some divergence moves here. But it's looking good. I mean, I will probably think this thing will come into the 150s, 160s, hopefully somewhere around maybe 170. Somewhere there will be a good place to kind of buy injective. And if you look at render as well, let's move to render. So render BTC, what you can see on the monthly chart, we have an iceberg on this, a roadblock. So this is likely to sell off back down first, exceed this candle here and create a divergence, and then you'll be on your way to the upside. Let's look at the USD pair. You have a roadblock as well on the USD pair, not surprised. So I think this obviously sells down. We have actually exceeded this to the downside, this to this. And let me see something here. Couldn't even cross, couldn't cross. That's why couldn't cross. And let me look for the weekly chart. So weekly chart, we don't really have any meaningful divergence. Just move from here and that's it. And we haven't gone lower since here. We haven't gone lower. So I mean this price did go lower if you ignore this wick. You ignore this wick, which hasn't been exceeded to the downside yet. The 0.651 hasn't been exceeded yet to the downside. I think this will be exceeded to the downside. So I will be patiently waiting for some render beneath the 0.651. And I think maybe 0.45, uh, 0.4 could be a good place to kind of buy some render. But I mean, if you start buying render from here, small DCA, it's not a bad idea if you start buying from here for a spot bag. But I expect this candle most likely to be exceeded, just similar to how this was exceeded to the downside, and this was exceeded to the downside by this at some point. If you're patient, and this was exceeded to the downside, if you are patient, these candles always get sold to the downside if you're patient. And it's the patient one is the one that is rewarded. So patience is key. You can buy some here, just maybe small quantity, but keep your big entry buys around 0.05. Below 0.05, you're doing good on this one as well. And I think that's all I wanted to talk about on 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 these altcoins. I mean, I could pick TAO as well. Have a look at that. I think on the week this is gonna most likely sell off again to the downside. Um, we don't really have a divergence yet. And here, let's have a look. Our fast RSI is not giving us even a cross. With all this big pump, we could not even cross on fast RSI. So this is a fake move, and that's why you're selling off. So I'd expect this to sell off, probably a bit more down first. Let me look at a Binance one and see where potentially you could get. Yeah, we had a strong support, and which is the good news is we had strong support. But if this support breaks, it will really cascade very quickly. Then is the weekly chart is not we're not oversold yet on normal RSI. So any bounce, the bounce has already happened here. And if you like go to 4 hours, have a look. Oh, we have a bear flag on it as well on 4 hours. So we're gonna go down, at least back to about 167 at the very least. And I think you'll probably end up going further down. So that's all I've got on crypto. I wish you all the best for the week. And God bless and tata.